Gather around the fire, my friends. Welcome to the Drunken Cryptids. I'm your guide, Matthew. Here, you'll hear encounters of the spooky, paranormal, the strange, and the unknown. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. It's showtime.
Was these two globes. I don't know how to describe them. And I stood up there and looked at them, and it's like...
That how she turned and looked at me, she backed straight up to my closet door.
I just couldn't hold it anymore, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was a chupacabra. I was so excited.
I'm drinking something I affectionately refer to as a Matty Rita.
And welcome back to another episode of the Drunken Cryptids. I'm your host, Matthew Wharton, and of course, sitting across from me this evening is Jacob. Everybody say hi to Jacob.
Hey, everybody.
Yeah, see everybody saying hi out there to you in podcast land. And we are not recording at the tavern this evening. We've got some wonderful weather and everything coming in, so we had to relocate to come inside, and just in case, we have some wonderful things happening later on tonight. So, podcast time travel, you guys already know the storm's already passed. Hope everybody made it safe and sound, and I appreciate that. But real quick shout outs, blademedia.com. By the way, the website should be up and running within a week of this episode. I just
Can't wait to see it.
Yeah, no, brand new website. I'm ready to check it out. So Dylan, I appreciate it over there at Blade Media. And of course, Tommy and Gunnar and the rest of the crew, you guys, I appreciate all the hard work you're putting into the background. But we do have a special announcement to make. Yeah, we're going to be part of it. Well, I've been invited to a town hall meeting. Me and Todd Neese going to be speaking at a town hall meeting in Ozark, Arkansas on February 8th at the Paradise Pizza Place.
Nice.
So we'll be having links posted up to there on the Facebook page, social media page, you guys. So make sure if you're in the area and you're feeling froggy on February 8th, come on down. Get a chance to meet me, Todd Neese, and it's with the Arkansas Boys. No, the Arkansas Cartel.
Oh, yeah.
The Arkansas Bigfoot Cartel. There's so many little groups they have.
I know.
And Wendell and y'all, I love you, but yeah, I have a hard time keeping up with some of your groups, and I know you're laughing. But yeah, they invite us. Yeah, so we'll be doing that on February 8th, and of course, there's a special announcement being made on Patreon only right now, and that will go live in a couple of weeks.
All right,
a little special announcement with Justin and Cryptids of the Corn. So he's got some things coming up he wants to talk about as well. He'll be coming on the show, and of course, we're going to be at the Ohio Bigfoot Jamboree in September 8th, I believe.
I think so.
I'll let you pull that up real quick. There's so many events going on.
There is.
Yeah, there is. And then, of course, it's looking like I'm going to be out of pocket for the month of July. So y'all won't get Matthew for the month of July. Maybe here and there little recordings. I am going to be in the Pacific Northwest for a while. And we still can't disclose any of that yet, which is crazy. But that's all right, though. But as Jacob's pulling that up for us, you guys, let's see, what other events do we have coming up? I can't think of any more off the top of my head. No, the Ohio Bigfoot Jamboree. Oh, you're pulling it.
October 4th through the, October 4th, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Okay, then that's in Ada, Ohio. ADA, Ohio. So, but we have a very unique special guest on tonight. You know that?
Yeah, you were telling me a little bit about her.
I know. I'm pretty excited to bring her on. We're going to be meeting this evening with Miss, and if I mess your last name up, Miss Debbie, I would just want to apologize completely. So I'll probably allow you to correct me. All right. I'm going to give it a shot, though. So we're going to be interviewing Miss Debbie Ziegelmeyer. Did I get it right?
That's it.
Yes, Ziegelmeyer. So Miss Debbie Ziegelmeyer. Now, Miss Debbie, she is an actual member of the MUFO, the Mutual UFO Network. Okay, she's got numerous positions, right, in the state of Missouri. So she's just right up the street. And actually, you are the director for it up there in Missouri, correct? Am I correct?
I'm the state director of Missouri, and then I'm also on the MUFON board of directors. And since I specialize in water, I'm also the director of underwater research and recovery for MUFON.
Ooh.
That is awesome. Hold on, but it's even. But you know what? Though, hold on. She's even cooler than that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Uh-oh.
this lovely lady has been. All right, she's been on numerous podcasts, obviously, conferences, and TV appearances, and a special one that really close to my heart right now: the Alaska Triangle, right? Which was Discovery Plus, Roswell: The Final Verdict, and of course, one of my favorite ones of all time, Ancient Aliens. I love Ancient Aliens.
That is a good show.
I really do. I'm not going to lie. Let's see here. And she's also, you also have 2 books written, The Alien Colonization of Earth's Waterways and the 50th Anniversary of the Southeast Missouri Ozarks UFO Flap.
Yep.
That is awesome. You wrote 2 books and all this stuff, too. When do you have the time to do that stuff?
I don't, and I still work full time. I'm a small business owner.
See?
I still try to figure out
holy crap.
Northwest. So you're going to go to Alaska, huh?
Yeah.
I figured that one out.
There you go. Yeah, we're leaving that one kind of, all the details are
Yeah,
being
I'll let
worked
you
out.
announce it later.
Oh, no, you're fine now. We're letting all the details and everything be worked out right now.
I figured it out, huh?
No, you did. It's not really hard, Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
And once
it's an awesome place. I've been scuba diving in Alaska. Well, you saw Alaska Triangle, yeah.
Yep. Oh, yeah. There's so much I want to unpack with everything you've done because, to be honest with you, I've never had my own UFO encounter. Jake, have you ever seen a UFO?
No.
Yeah, see, I've never had one, but I've always, we were just talking off air about Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yeah.
Which is, I was a kid when that movie came out, loved it. Loved it. My mom loved it. My mom, I think my mom has probably a lot more stuff that she's willing to tell me. Because if you look at my, my raising up, we know what the haunted house is, and my mom watching UFO movies and whatever. So I'm wondering if my mom knew some other stuff.
That's a bad possibility.
Yeah, but I've never had a UFO encounter, and I'm the biggest believer in it because I think that it's whatever's going on. There's too much evidence, just like same as Sasquatch. There's too much evidence for there not to be.
Yeah.
So, but real quick, so when the government came out, Miss Debbie, and said, "Yeah, there's UFOs," did your phone blow up?
Me?
Yeah.
What? Nope, I'm still here.
No. But no, when the government.
What? Oh, when all that came out.
Yeah.
No, actually, my internet. I think I got 150 emails that day.
Oh wow.
That when they first came out, I believe it was. Oh gosh, I think they officially came out in 2021.
Yes.
But originally, tape was released in December of 2017 by Jeremy Corbell. I mean, he got some of that in the Coast to Coast, of course. And I mean, it's just from 2017 all the way to the congressional hearings. Oh my gosh, in July 26th of 2023, that was just incredible. I sat and watched every bit of it, and I still have people that come up to me and they say, "You don't believe any of this. This is just stupid. Why would you believe that? You don't look credible to say things like that. You don't sound credible." And I thought, what? I said, okay, so go on YouTube and look up House Oversight Committee that members of Congress are interviewing David Grush, U.S. Air Force intel officer, and the 2, retired Navy pilots, David Fravor and Ryan Graves, that had the Tic Tac encounter. I said, just go on and watch the hearings. So you really think these people would waste their time, our congressmen and women, if this wasn't something that was for real? I mean, he goes, what? So it just surprises me that a lot of people they focus on certain things and they don't look at the big picture. I guess they're too focused. Oh gosh, I guess how would you put that? Well, they have their own little world, yeah, and they just don't expand their mind. They've got their job, they go to their job, they come home, they watch their sport event or whatever, they get the kids to wherever they need their sports, and they're just not out there open to what's going on. And this has been going on since biblical time. But
yeah, absolutely.
My favorite argument, I have to tell you, is this man in his 50s, and this was a few years ago. We had an argument on whether or not the moon was out during the day, and he said it was not. That you cannot see the moon during the day. How can you make it to your mid-50s and have never looked up?
I don't get okay.
So, this is what I deal with.
No, and I'll be honest with you. So for a lot of you guys in the UFO community, I know you guys get attacked probably more than people in the Sasquatch community.
Well, yeah, because everybody likes Jack Links, So
Well. Here's a cool thing too. And I was talking. I want you to know you got Jacob laughing over there. But so and I had this conversation. If you were to put a UFO or a Sasquatch on any product at all, it'll sell.
Oh yeah.
If you made Bigfoot toilet paper, that's my next one. Bigfoot toilet paper. If you made Bigfoot toilet paper or ET toilet paper, you couldn't keep it on the shelf.
No, you couldn't.
Yeah. There is actually, I have found ET toilet paper. There was a roll of it. They were selling rolls of it in Roswell at the museum. I think it was at one of the gift stores that was right across the street from the museum there.
So true story.
I have seen alien toilet paper.
Yes, true story. I went to Roswell a couple of years ago. I took a road trip with an Army buddy of mine in 2021, actually. Mm-hmm. And our first stop was Roswell. And then I got there, and I was really disappointed that we weren't able to go to the crash site. And they were still under restrictions, social restrictions. The museum was open, so we were able to go check out the museum. And my buddy was the biggest skeptic, and I was thinking he was going to get a kick out of all this. Oh, yeah. And let me tell you, the debate we had going from Roswell to Tombstone was great because that's all we debated UFOs and extraterrestrial life and everything. And he was almost kind of like the guy in his 50s. And Rick, I know you're listening, and I love you, buddy, but no. So, but yeah, but Roswell I loved it. I thought it was really neat. The McDonald's there set up with the UFO. I thought that was...
Oh, isn't that great?
That was awesome.
See, I haven't been, so...
I love that. I was a speaker there every year for a lot of years. I should have been this past year, except that they cut their budget. And Don Schmidt said I'd probably be a speaker again there next year. I gave up counting the times I've been to Roswell when I got to about 30. I've had interesting encounters. I've been on 2 archaeology digs and another one kind of a look-see looking for something. We had this was, April of 2023. And then we went out to the site, which was, I guess it'd be site 2 maybe. There's the debris field. That's where I did 2 archaeology digs. And then this was another site where supposedly after it skipped, we were at the skip site, then where the craft landed, and the alien beings were found. So we were over there looking for some landmarks. That was our task. But yeah, in fact, we got Don Schmidt. He's the lead investigator for the Roswell incident out of the UFO museum there in Roswell. And we had a bet with him that we could find it, my brother and I, that we could find it at night. So we drove in from Colorado Springs, got in at 4:00 in the morning, and then just went on down there just by landmarks we'd remembered. And we woke up to the sun rising at the debris field.
How cool is that?
Outside of Roswell. It was really great because we're in our car sleeping, and then the sun comes up, and we're like, well, this was cool. You never know what could have happened overnight, but we just thought it was interesting.
No, you did good.
We've had some interesting sightings there.
Well, speaking of that, let me ask you this, though. So what got you involved with all this? What did you have an encounter? Did something happen?
Originally, I think it's because I grew up in Southern Arizona. I went to Thatcher, Arizona elementary school. Well, I think just first grade, and then after that, we moved to Safford, just a couple miles down the road. I didn't move from there until I think I was 15 and moved to California. But growing up at the foot of, we called it the Graham Mountain. Now it's Mount Graham, and the Vatican has a telescope at the top of it because the sky is just so clear. They've got one in Italy, and the other one is there on Mount Graham in Arizona, right where I grew up. The town is just right at the foot of the mountain.
I never knew the Vatican had a telescope here. I don't know how. I did not know that.
Yeah, and what's really funny is they have this long name for it, but abbreviated, the name of the telescope is Lucifer. Yeah, look it up. Seriously.
No, okay.
There's
Jacob right now is pulling it up.
Yeah, it's nicknamed. It's basically L apostrophe U apostrophe. I mean, period U period. But yeah, the abbreviation spell Lucifer. They do have a great big telescope there. They run tours. But I grew up in a sky where you could see Venus during the day sometimes. When Venus was really bright.
Yeah.
My science teacher in 5th grade on the weekends would take a telescope out to the middle of the football field and tell us about all the stars. And so I grew up with telescopes, and that was kind of it. Grew up in the era of Lost in Space and Star Trek, and that was just kind of it. And in Arizona at the time, there was not a lot to do. We were surrounded by desert, so. That you could go collecting rocks. My family, uncles and grandfather, they all grew up working in the copper mines in Morenci, and there's still mines there all around the area. So they all worked in the mines. There wasn't a lot else around except for a beautiful sky, and we all became interested. And then we always, of course, the TV, the movies, and I grew up with all that. So I think I grew up in the era where it went right from fiction right into all the Apollo, the moon landing and everything else. So right place and right time for the interest.
Yeah, because I know that for sure that right after World War II, going to the 50s is when it took off. I mean, UFO sightings and everything in our country just went crazy. And a lot of people try and tie those in with some of the, the nuclear testings that we were doing in the 40s and 50s all the way through the 60s. Because a lot of sightings, took place over some of these, test sites that we were doing.
Oh, they had all those bad movies that were just great. I mean.
Oh yes.
I mean, there were a lot of really, really bad. I mean, they had some of Leslie Nielsen was in a lot of these where they were just really bad space movies.
But it was Leslie Nielsen,
fun.
so it was obviously a good one. I remember my grandpa watching these, and and I was a
still
Star Wars
did 'em.
kid, so to me, all
yeah.
the black or white ones were a little cheesy. But it was to me as a kid, the story of them was what was neat.
Oh, exactly. My granddaughter asked me that. She said, "Grandma, how do they make those movies black and white?" I said, "Oh, good Lord."
Okay, so
I said, "I'm not even going to go there."
It's funny since you mentioned it. I'm not going to lie. So as a little kid, I really thought the world was in black and white because of the pictures until color was invented. Seriously, I have no idea why.
That,
I did. I thought everything was in black and
were...
white. Yeah. And I was like 3 or 4 years old, though.
Oh, right. I can understand that.
Yeah.
You say, wow, at what point did the world turn into color?
Oh, yeah.
I guess gradually, and then pretty soon we had color. It was just a miracle.
And it's like, I asked my grandmother, I was like, so when did everything go to color? My grandma, if she was still alive, she'd probably still make fun of me. I just remembered that. I joined the infantry for a reason. I never said I was really smart. Okay? Okay, so you grew up, same with me. I grew up in northern Utah. Big skies up there. Big skies. Nothing, the Milky Way, everything. Light pollution now has ruined a lot of it, unfortunately. And we used to watch satellites every night.
Oh, yeah.
And we'd be looking for UFOs every night. And anything that would move, I was jumping on as a kid going, that's UFO. That's UFO. I was such a firm believer, so I'm surprised I have not seen a UFO, to be honest with you. So, but I understand completely. Just fascinated with the skies. I had books on astronomy as a kid as well. Sharks and astronomy.
I think the first one, let's see, what was the first one that I saw? Oh, gosh. That was like legitimate UFO. I think it was here in Missouri. I think would have been 79. It was 1979. And we were at Kmart and looked up, and there were two, one on top of the other, about the size of aspirin, two complete circles, just in a clear sky, 2:30 in the afternoon, silver metallic, just sitting up there in the sky. And everybody was standing outside looking at them. I've got long hair, and I did back then. My hair was just whipping, watching these two things. And everybody was looking up, and they called the Air Force Base, Scott Air Force Base here. They called the police, called the airport, St. Louis Lambert Field Airport, wondering what in the world those things were. And then finally, the newscaster that night, we lost track of them. The wind was blowing and blowing on a crystal clear sky, and then all of a sudden, this strange fog kind of came in, and they were gone. And we were all the way home from Walmart. We were driving 55 south and got off to where our subdivision was, and everybody was standing outside there looking up. And at the time, I didn't have a camera. I had a camera, no film in it. But on the news that night, they said they were 2 weather balloons that had got loose from Texas. Well, they were stationary in the sky for about 30 minutes. They weren't moving at all.
Yeah.
So.
And they weren't shaped anyway. You said aspirin pill size, so there's no way they could have been
shaped.
Yeah,
they were just complete circle. Like if you take your middle finger and your pointer finger and you turn them sideways and then look at your 2 fingernails, and they were like that, just planted up in the sky at about 60 degrees. Just stationary. And then
but you said so you said the wind was whipping around and a fog came out of nowhere.
The wind was blowing something terrible. We came out of the store and looked up, and there were they were. I mean, it wasn't hard to see them. Everybody was standing out in the parking lot looking up.
Yeah, you with your family, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Did they say anything about that, or?
Well, we all remembered. I mean, they were just there. And the neighbors, everybody in town saw them. That's the news. That was the explanation they came up with, weather balloons. I thought, well, that's funny, because years later, when I was in Roswell and we were headed out to the debris field, I saw something going by and I said, stop the vehicle, and looked up, and I got videotape of a weather balloon going over the debris field in Roswell, an actual weather balloon. So I have that. I know what a weather balloon looks like, because they tried to say that the Roswell craft was a weather balloon. I've got video of a weather balloon going over. No, it wasn't a weather balloon. But, then another one I saw was, let's see, 2007, April of 2007. I was in I'm a scuba instructor, and I was just finishing up my classes, instructor classes. I got home at 10 o'clock at night. I drive a Jeep, and I had it parked outside, and I get out, and there was something about the size of a cell phone, and it was a rectangle, and it was just moving slowly right over the top, had a light on either side, all corners, each one of the 4 corners, and one light in the middle, red, and they'd blink brighter red and then duller red. They never did blink out. They would just get brighter and then duller. And I watched this rectangle, go right over my head and then head toward Illinois, I guess toward the direction, and looked like maybe Scott Air Force Base that way. There was no structure or anything, and then the rectangle blocked out the stars. And there was a crystal clear night, and this rectangle just came right over my head. And I thought, oh, well, I could have run in the house and tried to get a camera. I had a cell phone, but in 2007, not all our cell phones had cameras on them.
No, and they weren't great either.
Yeah.
Right. And
any camera's going to happen. Yeah. Well, what's funny, you mentioned the picture thing. Yeah, you mentioned the picture thing, and like you said, 1979. Not everybody walked around in 1979 with a camera. Let's just be honest. I was born in 75. Even in the 80s, we didn't walk around with cameras. The disposable ones came out in the late 80s, and people would have those. But even then, the film wasn't that great, wasn't that wonderful. So,
right.
Yeah, to our understanding of trying to get actual really good photographic evidence of these things. And then in 2007, that'd be kind of hard to get a picture of, even in 2007 at night with,
right.
it blocking the stars out. But, you kind of brought a point up, though. So if you notice, too, though, like in the earlier UFO accounts that we get in, they're all cylinder shaped.
Yes.
And then they started migrating now to these triangles. And like the triangle sightings are now taken, from what I'm seeing. Yeah. And then also now the Tic Tacs are coming back.
Well, I went back when I was writing the book. The whole idea of the book was I had done 20 years of research all on water. I became a scuba diver, funny enough, the weekend after 9/11. So I immediately had an FBI file because of the nature of being a scuba diver. Everybody, they went to all the scuba shops and pulled everybody's files because they were afraid that we would be there were terrorists. So they wanted to know just who's underwater and who's by bridges, and so they pulled everybody's files. And so especially if you were certified anytime close to 9/11, which mine was the weekend after.
Right.
But by 2003, I joined MUFON in 2000 and became an investigator in 2001. So right around the same time I became an investigator, I also became a scuba diver. So my attention immediately went to water. And so I was doing research all the way from then to up until 2021, like late 2021, all this business with COVID. And they're telling everybody, oh, well, you know what, if you're 50 years or older, or maybe 60 or older, or, that you've got a 50-50 shot, you're going to die. And so I thought, I've spent 20 plus years collecting this information. I need to put it in a book. And it was just going to be a little bitty book. And I had so much information. I had boxes and folders and books that it ended up being a reference book. But I started going back and looking at how far back I could find sightings. And I found this one in my St. James version of the Bible. It's a Zechariah. Then I turned and lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, a flying roll. And he said unto me, What seest thou? And I answered, I see a flying roll. The length thereof is 20 cubits, and the beneath thereof 10 cubits. That's 15 by 30 foot. A flying roll. That's a tic-tac in the Bible. So there's other sightings, that there's a fiery cloud, and then a beam of light comes down and a person goes up. But that one I just thought was interesting because of course, we had November 14th of 2004 from the Nimitz. There was Commander David Fravor that got that great video that you see of that tic-tac that's coming in and out of the water. But they cut the video short. There were about a dozen of them above. He followed one down to the water. So there were a lot more of them. Just the one got the attention, which is a little scary because they had been watching these things for a couple of weeks. He was on the Nimitz, and then they were in. I guess they were practicing, or they were doing maneuvers to go to the Middle East. And the Princeton was there also. I think the Princeton's retired now, but the Princeton was there also, and they had been watching these things for 2 weeks. So yeah, the Tic Tacs I went back to, and I found someone else from the Navy. Let's see, it was gunner's mate John Bowman, and in 2010 he was on the Carl Vinson, and he also saw a Tic Tac underwater. So, I mean, this is, he described it as being large, flat, white Tic Tac object, 20 feet in length. He had just appeared below me. He was looking over ship, and then it kind of descended. And he filed that, he filed that report. So there's other reports of Tic Tacs. I've had, let's see, this
Well,
is
Columbus had some too, though.
Oh, gosh, yeah. Columbus had a sighting in October of 1492. He was just... I think it was 11 nautical miles outside of San Salvador. And he saw this little candlelight that was bouncing up and down in the water. His son Ferdinand was out on the deck with him. And they, several of the sailors came up and watched this thing off in the distance. It was just bobbing up and down in the water, and then it just disappeared. And that's in his admiral. His admiral's journal that was found in there. So there's been sightings just going back just forever of Tic Tacs, of circle-shaped craft. The Native Americans, they described Thunderbird, and now they go back through their stories that they repeated, through history, and they're starting to think now that the Thunderbirds were actually some type of a triangle-shaped craft.
I can see that. I can 100% see that because I just noticed that triangle craft are becoming, in the past 20 years, more and more reported. The likes of Phoenix, Stevensville, Texas, And if you look at the shape of all that, it's more triangle. So I was kind of curious if maybe, what your thoughts were on, are we dealing with two different kinds of craft, two different kinds of creatures, or,
Well, that's something else too, that there's so many different sightings, different descriptions of aliens. Everybody tries to categorize them all as one. There are multiple different entities that have been visiting. You can go back through history, and just, the descriptions are totally different. Well, what Travis Walton saw, I know Travis pretty well, and what he said he saw was, I guess, about 4 foot tall with big heads. But he described that their eyes weren't as big as like the big grays, and that they were the aliens were kind of chunky. He also described that were two what we call Nordics, and they're really tall, maybe like 6-7 foot tall aliens that look human, and they call them Nordics because they look kind of Scandinavian.
Correct.
Then you got the little tiny grays. Then you've got the insectoids. That one, Linda Potter, was someone that was abducted and taken underwater, and she describes, and she has pictures even in her book of one that its head looks almost like a praying mantis.
Okay, that'd be kind of creepy. I'm not gonna lie. I can handle those, but the giant praying mantis are kind of. No, I wouldn't either. So, yeah.
But then there's the reptilians. You've probably heard of the reptilians. Yep. They're totally different. They've got ridged heads and ridged chest. So there's different types of alien, of course. So there's different types of craft. They're coming from different places. They're not going to have. It's just like humans too. We have different kinds of cars. We've got trucks, we've got buses.
Well, even our aircraft. I'll be honest with you. Well, as funny as our aircraft, even so, like you'll have our helicopters, our military helicopters look different than the Russian military helicopters.
Yeah. Well, right.
Versus what some of these other, you got to look at America and Russia. We're the two main players. So, yeah, we're going to have aircraft in the sky, but you can identify, that's a Russian. Oh, that's an American. So, by the design. So, that makes absolute sense right there.
Yeah. And then just with the grays, I just don't, there's taller, 5'7" tall grays, 6 foot tall grays, there's 4 foot tall. I don't know. I'm still open-minded about that. They may or may not come from different places. But if you take a look at humans, we none look alike. So I would say maybe the grays all look a little bit different. But I would think the insectoids and the reptilians, at least, those and the grays are all different. Because they are really, really different.
Yes.
Not humanoid form, but maybe one with a beard and so then the ships are the same way, and it depends on where you are too. Because one of the things I found when the Soviet Union broke up in, I guess that would have been the early '90s, late '80s, early '90s.
Yes.
The information was leaked out. That was just chaos, and I think there are 3, maybe 4. UFO investigators that are Russian, and they got a hold of a lot of this. There's also magazine articles that I found, but one of the really interesting one was Lake Baikal, and that was where they used to train it was that was back in I believe it was 1982, and there were 7 Russian military that are the equivalent of our Navy SEALs. And they went down 165 feet. Now I'm an instructor, and recreational is 130. I've been on about 145 or so. But they're down at 165 feet in this lake in Russia, Lake Baikal. So if you're a scuba diver, you realize that that's deep and it's dark. They're down there and most likely, definitely have some type of flashlight. 7 of these divers training. And they come across 4 aliens, 1 standing or floating in front, 3 behind. They don't have any scuba gear at all, but they do have some type of helmet with something over their mouth, breathing apparatus, but just a helmet. So naturally, they were scared, to say the least. They backed off. And now you're at 165 feet. If you know anything about scuba diving, you've got to come up little by little by little.
Oh, you're going to get the bands.
Because of decompression.
Yep.
So you're going to come up, little by little by little. And maybe the last 15 minutes or last, I guess 12-15 minutes, you're at 15-20 feet. So you come up in levels, and now you're at the surface, and then you go they went to their commanders, and they said, "You're not going to believe what we saw down there." Well, somebody after just a few days decided they're going to send them back with a net. So these guys go back down to the same place again, come across the same aliens. And I found this verified in several different places.
Okay, hold on. The Russians sent them down there with a net?
Trying to catch one?
They sent them down with a net, decided they were going to try and catch one.
That's hilarious. Now, only the Russians. Sorry.
Well,
sorry, my Russian audience.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Well, so picture this. You're going down 165 feet. and you've got a net, and you're going to try and catch a 10-foot tall alien, and you're going to try and bring it to the surface. Now you're gonna ascend in levels as you decompress. You're gassing off level by level, coming to the surface. Or were they just going to take this poor alien and tie lift bags on it, fill it with air, and just send them up, and which he would probably blow up? I don't know what their plan was, but when they went down, sure enough, they found the aliens again, and the one in the front, the three behind. Two of the divers took the net and headed toward the alien who was hovering in front. And as they went to put the net over him, it put its arm straight out, and all seven went to the surface, just right straight to the surface immediately. When they did, three were dead almost when they hit the surface. They went up so fast. Three of them died almost immediately. They took the other four divers, took them to decompression chambers. One was broke, so they stuffed all four of them in one decompression chamber. Out of the seven divers, one survived.
Oh, wow.
So they had a hearing and decided that they weren't going to dive in that lake and train anymore. And then there's another lake that's not too far away, and they said the lakes in the area, they just weren't going to train in those lakes anymore.
Well, I wonder if there's underwater caverns. I mean, are they moving, or what are they doing down there?
Well, they were just down there, happened to be down there in that lake. And also, I found in a Russian magazine in the Baltic Sea an article from 1984, and there was an unidentified, very large humanoid creature that was swimming at 1,300 feet, and it was seen by a Soviet submarine. Dressed in silver suit, 10 foot tall, described as human-like swimmers. Their feet are kind of, like finned. I found another one, the Black Sea, 1996 in Moscow, from a magazine article. B. Borovikov, he was diving. He was a shark diver, and he witnessed huge creatures that were come up. He said that they were swimming toward him from 8 meters away, fish-like tails, milky white humanoid faces, bulging eyes, and they were very, very, very tall. So somewhere in and around Russian waters, since the 80s, the early 80s, they've been finding, and that's just the reports I found, they've been finding these 10-foot tall creatures. So I would say that they're down there living someplace.
They gotta be.
They'd almost have to be down there somewhere living.
Yeah. I mean, that's.
I know, scary, right?
It is. It's kind of, and it kind of catches. I'm really speechless, but I'm sitting there just going, "What?" I've got no response to this stuff other than, what are they doing down there? How long have they been down there? And because if you think about it, one of my theories I kick around all the time, especially because Bigfoot's my bread. I love Bigfoot. It's one of my favorite cryptids. But on this planet right here that we know of, human beings are the most unique creatures that we have here. And how our lifestyle is, how we live, how we operate, everything about us, what we're designed, everything. And we don't have any other. We don't have any other kind of species. Like you look at dogs. How many different species of dogs are there? You know what I mean? It's a dog. But when it comes to mankind, there's just male and female. Well, I don't want to get in trouble, but there's just genetically male and female.
But you'd be surprised. It's just because we don't look close enough. If you look at ants, I used to be fascinated with ants when I was growing up because I lived out in the desert, and I'd watch these ants. They sent out a queen ant and scout out an area, or they sent out a soldier ant first. That's what it sent out, a soldier ant to scout out the area and then come back. And then you got the queen ant. That's an ant that's got the wings, and they're building. I mean, they build this mound, and we used to watch them. There'd be a whole line of them. They'd all be carrying something on their back and then going underneath. They're building something underground. I thought, wow, they're just ants, but they had a plan, and they had a queen, and they had soldier ants that were going out, and then they've got ants that are protecting, and ants that protect the queen. I thought, these are just ants. And that, if you start looking at species on our planet. Whales are extremely intelligent.
Oh no, you're right. But
know?
I'm talking about when it comes to mankind, there's
Yeah,
nothing
because
similar
we're
to
the only
us.
ones that have cars and trucks and right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
we're the only ones that's
one of my theories about the UFO thing that I run off of personally is, what if there is another civilization that does live underwater, and this is. I mean, that's how I hate.
oh, it could be us.
Yeah.
It's another species of very intelligent, like Aquaman.
Yes.
Yeah, could be.
Soft
Could be
disclosure.
Bigfoot, maybe the same way. Maybe they're just another species that they've hid well enough to where we've never found them.
Yeah.
And I think that's a strong possibility. I really do.
mean-
Where they've advanced, where I don't know. Remember the movie The Abyss?
That's what I was just
Yes.
thinking about.
Yeah, I look at that like soft disclosure. So, but okay, so you wrote a book though, and your fascination is with the under. That's the reason why I'm talking about the underwater stuff right now, is because this is like your fascination. So, did you have something underwater that you encountered or something, or
No,
or just fascinated with the idea of it?
well, no, kind of. But
Okay.
that was well after the fact, and it's kind of sad because that's my dream. I'd love to, or would I, find something that's actually underwater. But back it was January. I just finished a couple months ago, well, not even a month ago, maybe 6 weeks ago, went on my 10th cruise, and I had one that was canceled because of COVID. But on January 25th of 2006, I was on a Royal Caribbean cruise, the Explorer of the Seas ship, and it was only my second cruise. We stopped in St. Martin, and I was scuba diving there all day long. So when you go scuba diving off a lot of these cruise ships, they take you pretty much from the pier and then you're out. Well, it was only my second cruise. I didn't get to see St. Martin at all. So as everybody else was getting back on the ship, I got back on about 4:30, went up, showered, put away my dive gear, and then I'm taking pictures by like 5:30. I'm out there taking pictures, and then we leave port at 6. Well, no one was paying attention because back then they didn't have this kind of what they call like the free dining where you can make an appointment. You either ate at 6:30 or 8:30. Well, we decided to eat at 8:30 because the people that ate at 6:30 had to get on the ship early, and the ship didn't leave port till 6. So my group is in showering. Most of the rest of the people, they were getting ready to take formal pictures. They're getting ready to eat. The 6:30 group. My groups come on the ship. They're all showering, and then I'm going to meet them at the bar. I'm the only one taking pictures. Everybody on the ship that's working or picking up towels, straightening chairs, that type of thing. So I'm walking after, it was about 20 minutes after 6. And I thought, okay, I'm far enough away. There's no pictures to see. Now, keep in mind, I'd been diving in St. Martin all day. As I'm heading toward the bow of the ship, I look over, I guess it'd be starboard side to the right. I look over and there's 2 UFOs floating over the water. I got a picture of them. It's in my book.
Yep.
They're the size of cars, of small cars, and they look like a saucer. And you can see definition around, like a bright light on the top, and like windows or some kind of definition all the way around. And there they are off in the distance, and they're kind of rocking back and forth, and then kind of moving around in a circle. They're maybe 10, 15 foot over water. They were off in the distance, so it's kind of hard to judge, but they were low to the water. Well, the first thing I did when I saw them was I turned around behind me because I thought it was a reflection from the ship on the water. I turned back around and we're leaving them behind. So I got one really good picture. And then I noticed there was a third one just above in the sky that was kind of covered by a cloud. So I don't know if they were coming out of the water and then going into the sky and then covering up with a cloud and then going higher, or they had been camouflaged with a little fuzzy cloud over it, and then we're going into the water. But I thought, okay, there I am. I'm at the right place at the right time. I'm just not underwater. Of course, if I was underwater, I wouldn't have seen them because they were above water. So I guess kind of yes. And, I've been on since then. I just took cruise number 10. I don't know. I went outside of Puerto Rico. I taped some interesting lights, but I'm not too sure about that. But one other thing that I didn't mention was that my camera, from that moment on, my pictures began at February 5th. It changed the time and the date. So all my pictures, the date was off of everything from that point forward. All my
Really?
pictures. Oh yeah, there
Well,
was even
okay,
an
I will
electromagnetic
testify.
effect.
Everybody, I've seen the pictures. So, because I should have said this in the beginning, but me and Miss Debbie met at the Paranormal Expo here in Little Rock. So, and I met her the first night we were setting up, and she broke her book out while we're discussing, and she showed me these pictures. And Jacob, it's crazy.
Yeah,
These
I
are
mean, you can't describe it as anything else. I asked him on the ship. I said, "Okay, do you have some remote control that you're out there?" I mean, the ship is really moving. We're 20 minutes out from St. Martin, and they said, "No, no, no, that's against the law." And I know it's not a submarine because they were above water. I mean, there was no explanation for him. And then when I got home and I started downloading my pictures, and I went, "Oh, the dates are off from that point forward." I don't know. Don't have any explanation for it.
so let's go back to the dates being off. So, how far off are the dates on the camera?
Well, the date was set at January 25th of 2006.
Okay.
And after I took two pictures, the second one, I was running and I was ducking lifeboats. And then I got one through plexiglass. This picture was not through plexiglass.
Okay.
So after that picture, the next picture was dated February 5th, not
Same year.
January 25th. Yeah. It just, all of a sudden, my camera just skipped ahead. I'm like, this is February 5th. And then the pictures the next day were February 6th. And by the time we get to St. Thomas the next day, my pictures were all dated February 6th, because February 5th was the pictures that I took that night at dinner.
Well, okay, so being the investigator, though, so this is driving, this I don't know why this jumps out at me for some reason. But you have, especially in your field, in your research, because you've interviewed, abductees and stuff like that, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So what if there was some sort of, I don't know, I've been stuck in this time slip thing there for a while, a time slip to where it's kind of odd that your camera would go from, January to February.
Not really. I've had this before.
Okay. In the field doing research?
Sure. We interview witnesses. And it messes with your camera settings. The cameras, I mean, sometimes I've had a witness to where the pictures go backward in date. They're all in unison. And then as the next picture and the next picture and the next picture, the date is before the first picture. It messes with your electronics, I guess, depending on whether it's a phone. This was a camera, but it depends on whether it's a phone or a camera or what it is. We had that Chinese spy balloon. It was over here. I was watching it over my house, kind of, just off, I guess to the right, not directly over, but at about 45 degrees to the right off of my deck for 2.5 hours. And the first thing I did, I came home from work at 4:30 and I walk out on the deck and thought, okay, this thing was in Kansas City. I'm going to see if it's here in Missouri. And I walk out and there it is. I thought, you've got to be kidding me. I got 3 pictures with my cell phone and my phone went dead. So then I went in and I got my little HD Handycam camera. I took 3-4 pictures with that, and then I started taking video. And after just a little over 2 minutes, the camera it wouldn't focus. It was blurry. I mean, the video would not focus. The pictures wouldn't focus. That was it. Everything was just blurry. Well, then I waited a little bit, and then I have a Psionics night vision, military grade light night vision camera, and it started to get dark, so I used that. And when I went in, I took a couple minutes of video and some pictures. When I went to download that, they didn't print to the scan disk. So I had an effect with 3 different types of camera, basically. Well, I talked to somebody who, the balloon was there because just about 4 or 5 miles maybe 4 miles north of me is a government mapping company. I mean, there's a name for it, but basically it's a government facility that they generate, or I guess they gather pictures from satellites, and we just call it the mapping company across the street from Home Depot. Well, this balloon was there trying to get information from the mapping company, and the mapping company, I talked to somebody who used to work there, and he said they were probably sending out some kind of a blocking signal so it couldn't get the information. They didn't want it to be strong enough or it would have ruined everybody's cameras, but it was enough to reset, to knock out the battery on one camera, blur another one, and then I had a malfunction on 3 different cameras. So that was our government blocking the Chinese balloon from gathering information, or maybe it was the process of them trying to get the information and pulling it from the facility, or one or the other, and that's us.
Or a
doing it,
combination, or a combination of both. And I know that much because the Air Force Base out here, there's lots of places on the base, and it's in a highly public area. People live there.
Yeah.
And my cell phone won't work, and they got blockers put up.
Exactly.
So that way,
yeah, they do.
Mm-hmm.
And if we could block, we can mess up cameras. Well, of course, this is alien technology because those things sure weren't ours. So absolutely, we have problems with cameras all the time. The movie Close Encounters.
Yep.
That was Roy. His truck was bouncing. The mailboxes were going back and forth. His truck went off, and then it automatically started again. I'd had that happen to someone too. It was let's see. She was going down to I think it was down south in southern Missouri. This little gal was coming from Chesterfield, and she was going to southern Missouri, and she was going to meet up with some other girls, and they were playing basketball, and they were going to drive with another one of the moms. She got a late start, so it's like 11 o'clock at night. She gets not too far from this house, and she sees this craft off in the field right next to her, flashing lights. And then she watches, and what made her stop was there was a German Shepherd that was laying in the road. She thought it was dead. She slammed on the brakes, and she looked over. She saw this craft. Well, her car cut out. It wouldn't start. Her phone wouldn't. She got a little bit of video. Her phone went dead. And then when the craft left, the dog got up and walked away. And so she called her mom crying. She's about 17 years old. She called her mom, and she was crying, and she was scared to death. And her parents are who called me. This has been just a few years ago. It ended up, though, the video didn't take to the camera. And I said, well, just let me take. It didn't record, but I thought maybe we can find something on there. And I said, just give me her phone. She goes, well, no, she just got the phone. We had the insurance, and we turned it in. I went, oh, no. But yeah, her car, she said her car just started back up on its own. So that does happen. J. Allen Hynek was one of the, I guess, advisors, or he was one of the ones that helped him not verify, but I guess make things as realistic as he could for Close Encounters, telling him what aliens. It was a lot of the descriptions of things that had happened. And so J. Allen Hynek was helping with Close Encounters. So a lot of those things were actually reported. Cars do go off, and they do start up. I get that. Cameras, I get these in my reports all the time. I've done close to 1,000 investigations just with MUFON.
Well, let me ask you a question. So on your investigations, if you're allowed to talk about it, can you, what was your craziest one that just jumps out at you, that just something about it to where you believe it, obviously, but there's just something about it that just, it's off?
Well, that one was one I had one where this was in 2009. There was a little girl, and this was down south, near Mountain Grove, Missouri. And she saw a craft. She was 9 years old. She saw a craft. And she kept trying to tell her mom this light was coming by. They could see, the parents remembered something going on in the field, but they thought it was military maneuvers. I talked to the lady in conservation that was in charge of conservation, and for Mark Twain Forest. I talked to a police officer who also saw these lights, but he was going away from them. But the odd thing was that, long story short, was that the little girl, they stopped the car, the little girl was taken. They eventually remembered, the mom remembered a couple weeks later, but what she remembered was that when they took their daughter aboard this craft, they took their shoes. And I said, they took your shoes? And she says, yeah, her and her husband. She said, the aliens took their daughter and their shoes. And she said, I guess they thought if they took our shoes, we wouldn't leave. And she goes, it was our only daughter. We weren't going to leave. Well, they didn't remember until about 2 weeks later, the memory started coming back. I thought that was kind of odd. They brought the daughter back. There was about an hour and a half missing time, but they took the parents' shoes.
Did they bring the shoes back?
Yeah, and they gave them, the little girl came back holding their shoes and gave them to her parents. I thought that one was odd. I had a lot of witnesses that saw the lights, and so it's a pretty good sighting, and it was probably one of the closest things to close encounters. Just the way that the whole thing kind of fell in place with things shutting off and people seeing, and a lot of very good witnesses. I mean, I called the fire department. They didn't have a call, but the gal that worked dispatch was coming home. This was December 5th, and so she's coming home from Christmas shopping, and she saw these lights in the field. I mean, so there was a lot of people that verified it, but I thought that was just really interesting. I'd never heard that one before.
I wonder why
And then
the shoes. That is odd.
yeah, they took their shoes. I thought that was odd. And then another one that I'm working on now, a case, the first time this happened was the whole Piedmont thing, the anniversary book. That's actually the 50th anniversary of the 1973 Piedmont incident. There were so many on that particular date. I think it was February 24th of 73, I believe. It's February of 1973. But there were over 200 sightings reported that day. And there was the basketball coach, Reggie Bone, was coming back with 5 of his basketball players from Essex, Missouri, after a playoff game, and there was a couple school buses of kids behind them. But the coach saw this craft in the field, he and the kids, and these 5 boys, they got out and watched it and moved off into the woods. And just as they left, the 2 busloads of kids from behind them and said, well, what was it that Coach Bone saw? And they stopped. And I know because one of the children in the bus behind, I know him. And so he was telling me, he said that he was in 8th grade, and that he said about a dozen boys got out and they ran underneath this craft and then, got back in. That was just the beginning, exactly a month later. In fact, I think it was February 21st, because March 21st, exactly a month later, then they saw it hovering over Clearwater Lake. So that whole incident brought out Professor Harley Rutledge from the university in Cape Girardeau, and he was supposed to only have 2 weeks to be able to 2 weeks of funding to find out what was going on. Well, the very first night that they set up, he and another professor and 2 students, very first night they saw blue lights in the woods. They saw these strange lights overhead. So a couple months later, they decided they were going to go to Farmington Airport, and they were going to set up there. Well, they watched this white light, and the owner of the airport and his son happened to be there watching as well. And this white light came down, almost landing at nighttime there at the airport. And then it kind of veered off, went up into the air. They watched just a bright white light, and then it turned on its FAA lights, going away from them, green on the left, red on the right. Well, that's opposite. And one of the students, his last name I believe was Wilson, he said, Professor, he said, it turned on FAA lights, but they're on the wrong side. They should, it's either flying backward or upside down. Well, they got a black and white picture, and it's in Harley Rutledge's book. Well, it was January 5th of 2021, I believe. I got the same thing happened. My crew was out, and we were not too far from where I live here, about off of Highway 44. There was a lot of sightings reported, and sure enough, these white lights are coming down, and this is a January 5th, and so there's no leaves on the trees. They're coming through the trees, going overhead, and then I got 2 of them on tape, coming through the trees, coming across Highway 44, going through the trees, getting airborne, going up about 1,000-foot altitude, I guess, and then they turn on FAA lights, green on the left, red on the right, going away from us. Same thing. So it took almost 50 years later, and I caught it on tape in color. And there's not even enough space in between. My chief investigator, Mel Van Vickel, went frame by frame by frame, and there's not even enough space in between the 2 lights for a fuselage. So same thing, and I probably, Farmington's probably like a little over an hour or so, I guess, away from where we were staged. So those are kind of my most interesting sightings. I know, a little long-winded, but
No, I like it. So I'm kind of curious about the FAA, the FAA lights. I mean, you think maybe they've caught on? They got to be intelligent. I mean, because my theory is, and I've told everybody, doing what I do, the hobby that I have, with the paranormal and everything, that when it comes to UFOs, I said the only issue I've always kind of had with UFOs is if you're trying to be sneaky about it, why are you going to go into an area at night with your lights on?
So yeah, they don't even need the lights.
I know.
And I guess I don't have any idea if it had to do with energy, because I'm thinking, why do they have lights? And maybe they're afraid that we're going to run into them. Maybe for whatever it is, that their electromagnetic field that's protect them, because, well, that's a whole other story.
That
But
is a whole other story.
That maybe that generates a glow, and then people are looking at this glow. The electromagnetic field, there was a gentleman named Carl Feint, and he studied water UFOs. He and I he passed away, bless his heart, a few years, just, not too long ago. But we had discussions about it. He believed that UFOs can come in and out of our atmosphere without a sonic boom and go in and out of the water without being destroyed. Hitting the water at a high rate of speed would destroy one of our airplanes.
Yeah, because that was another question I had coming up too. Though was how they what's your theory? From water to air to air to water.
Well, right, they were protected. That they're protected by an electromagnetic field, and so they never touch the air. They never touch the water. This field, if they want to go faster, I guess the field that's around them will maybe maneuver in shape or whatever. I mean, they back, oh gosh, in the 80s, there was one that was clocked at, I think, 179 miles an hour underwater. I mean, that was faster than anything could go in 1963. That was 1963. Think of it.
That's fast underwater, period.
That is fast underwater, period, especially back then.
Yeah.
So this is what his theory was. My theory was that why are they going in and out of the water? Well, it's a good hiding place, but then also H2O. They are harvesting our hydrogen. And maybe the hydrogen is what they need to replenish their electromagnetic field, because NASA replenishes their fuel cells with hydrogen. And that's what they used to do in the Mercury and Apollo and the early spaceships. That's what they did. So I mean, it's a theory, but maybe that's what they're doing. They're harvesting our hydrogen. But anyway, what I thought was interesting about the one with the lights was that I did a presentation and I had a pilot. It was an older gentleman. He was a pilot, and he said, "Oh no, that's an airplane." And I said, "Watch the video again." I got this on video, and I said, "Watch the video. It's coming low across Highway 44. Then it's coming low across. We were staged on Route 66, and then I said, "Look at the trees." And I said, "You can watch this in slow motion. It's coming like the tree was maybe, I guess 30-foot tall, big tree, no leaves on it. And 2/3 of the way down, well, it was like a third, 2/3 of the way up from the ground. This is where these lights are coming through the branches of the trees, this light. And then it goes near us, then it takes a sharp turn, goes off in the distance, gets altitude, and turns on a green and a red light." I said, "How could that be an airplane? You saw it come through those trees. So how do you think that could be an airplane?" He said, "Well, I don't know, but it's got to be." I said, "Well," he goes, "Why would it turn on the green and red light?" I said, "Good question, but when people see a plane in the sky, they go, 'Oh, look, it's got a green and red light, and there's that white spotlight for the plane.'"
Yep.
Most people don't know what side the lights are on.
No, and I'll be honest with you. So I actually learned that this year.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
I learned that this
people
year
see
about the
green and
lights.
red
I'm
light.
not gonna lie. Yeah.
Yeah, you maybe you did see something and the lights were on the wrong side. I never realized it, because most
Exactly.
people don't realize
Yeah.
that.
Well,
And so
strong
maybe
possibility.
whoever is trying to fool us, but whoever's trying to fool us tried to fool Harley Rutledge and his team in 1973.
They were
So
catching on.
we caught the same thing like almost 50 years later, but I don't have any idea what they're doing this, but they've been doing it for at least 50 years that we know of, because there was the description, and it wasn't too far from the sites weren't all that far apart from each other. Like maybe an hour and 20 minutes or so from each other, from where his was and ours was. It's fascinating.
It
This
is.
stuff has just been going on for so long, and it's just.
I've been quiet through the whole thing because I'm listening. I'm intently listening.
Like,
and-
this woman's crazy.
No, you don't understand. Because, like I said, I grew up, loving the whole UFO phenomenon, everything about it. And I was a kid, in the library as a kid, checking out books on UFOs and ghosts and Bigfoot and stuff. And just space to me was always fascinating. But again, like you, up in northern Utah, in the early 80s, there was no light pollution. We were seeing the Milky Way, and we were counting satellites. And, we see something move and star, me and my friends at night. We'd sleep out on the trampoline at night, and be looking, trying to. So totally fascinated with this stuff. And you made a comment though earlier about when I said I'd never had an encounter, that I should come to Missouri. So what do you think makes Missouri so special? And I don't mean that in a condescending way. I mean,
no. I know what you. No, okay. Our exact words. Why Missouri? Well, for one thing, I mean, and this is just recent. Hartville, Missouri, is the center of the United States population-wise. But we are also Missouri is pretty well the center of the United States. We've got 3 major rivers. We've got the Merrimack, the Missouri, and the Mississippi. We're the cave state. We've got a lot of caves, including Onondaga Cave. We've got Merrimack Caverns. Merrimack Caverns is 14 miles underground, and most people don't know that. It also runs right along the Merrimack River. So lakes. We have a lake at the Ozarks. We've got a lot of lakes here. Lead, we've got where we mine, not mine. I guess it would be mining lead. We have lead mines. Then we also have earthquakes. We've got the New Madrid. So we're thinking, why Missouri? What is so special about Missouri? And then I just recently found out that, and these sightings aren't really in that area, but near St. Louis Airport is the radioactive, I guess, let's see, the radioactive garbage, I guess, from the 1940s, from the Manhattan Project.
Yeah.
All of that, they took it and they buried it over by St. Louis Airport. And then they took it out of there, and some of it moved. They moved it farther, and there's a big mound there where they've got it buried. But they just found, not too long ago, they found a river, kind of a creek that goes up. It's in North St. Louis, and it's contaminated, radioactive contaminated. Now we know that sightings of UFOs have been around nuclear plants.
Yep.
I don't know. Maybe there's an interest over there, but that's not where our sightings are. Our sightings are down by the Merrimack River, down by the caves, the Missouri River. We've had a few of them. The Mississippi River. We've had Mississippi River. Gosh, not too far from me. There a couple years ago, not just a few months apart, 2 police officers saw giant Tic Tacs crossing. We've got still pictures in unison. So a kid and his mom were going across the river, and he hit the button and took like 8 or 10 pictures in a row. And there's this low flying Tic Tac. So we have Tic Tacs in and around the Mississippi River. You've got strange balls of light, one over by the Kansas City area, that the news media has filmed it several times. They've nicknamed it Bob.
That's hilarious.
I know. Highway 44, up and down with all the caves that run up and down Highway 44. We're trying to figure it out. What we thought is maybe whatever is hiding underwater. There's so many caves and so many rivers and so many waterways in Missouri that if you could manipulate your shape enough, and if you do a good enough pathway, you could travel without being seen all over the state, underwater, in the water. We know that the ones that we've been watching, we've been investigating since 2018, that we think it's coming from an area where there's a reservoir, and then it's coming across the Highway 44, and then it's heading over to the caves and going in over by the Merrimack River, someplace where all the caves are, and then going underwater again, and then moving till we don't even know where. But I don't know. We know that area. I think what they're doing, that was the one jump. I did some investigations, my latest presentations, talking more about what's going on underwater. And I'm getting ready my book's about 3/4 of the way or more done on things that are going on underwater, people that have been remembered being abducted and taken underwater, the 10-foot tall underwater creatures, and there's a lot going on in Puerto Rico. But we see them hovering over the top of the water. We see them going in and out of the water. I thought, well, what's going on under there? So I started doing research on that. But that kind of, I don't know what the point I was getting at, but
You're doing
that's
great.
the
I'm not gonna lie.
fascinate-
You just had me again at underwater
that's
UFOs and abductions underwater.
Oh yeah, and it's surprisingly.
Well, I'm going to pause you real quick. Do you think that has any? Okay, because remember, I was a kid in the library, the Bermuda Triangle. Because we're talking about underwater UFOs, underwater stuff. You mentioned Puerto Rico,
right?
Which is in the area of the triangle. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Bermuda, it's Puerto Rico, and Miami.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So
we took our last cruise. We were in the Bermuda Triangle almost the whole time.
Because I've been to Puerto Rico twice. So yeah, I love Puerto Rico.
Just there.
Okay, yeah, love Puerto Rico, San Juan.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I love Puerto Rico, and then, so I was asking people there about UFOs, and they said that San Juan's kind of north, like I said, be northeast, and all the activity is really going on southwest. Lake Cartagena, there's a lot of strange things going in and around there. Cabo Rojo is southwest, and there's a bluff right there where there's so many craft that are being seen that people throw artifacts in there as blessings, crosses and beads and crystals and that type of thing. Ponce, that's southern Puerto Rico, right in the middle of the island, right on the shore. And there's anomaly. There's an underwater anomaly, kind of like the one that was in Malibu, is right off of there. Jorge Martin, their investigator, was the one that pointed it out to me. So they even have an extraterrestrial highway in Puerto Rico. I tried. Oh, they do. From San Juan, I tried to take a taxi when I was there. Not this, because I was there, maybe 6 weeks ago. I tried to take a taxi the time I was there before, and the round trip was $300 to get a picture of a sign. I went, yeah, that's okay. So I've got a picture of it, in my presentations that I just, I got it online. But I don't have to pay $300 to take a picture of a sign. I got a picture of extraterrestrial highway in Nevada, so that's good enough.
That's cool.
But there's more triangles. There's the Michigan Triangle, goes across Lake Michigan. There's the Alaska Triangle. There's the Dragons Triangle. That's off of Japan, and then of course we know we got the Bermuda Triangle. So
I knew there was more. I knew there was more triangles out there. I just never really dug that deeper into some of the other triangles. Now you're giving me some good ideas to research more of these, because the Bermuda one to me is the most infamous one, and then Alaska to me would be like the second one. But doesn't Alaska have like two triangles, one in the water and one in the mountains?
Well, it goes from the top of Alaska kind of all the way down. I think one corner, it's the very top, then the one corner is Anchorage, and then goes across. I can't remember the name of the town, and then kind of up. It's right through the middle.
Yeah,
so Ketchikan's in there, Mount Hayes. There's also in that triangle. There's also three different. Let's see. What are those? The facility HARP facilities.
Okay.
They've also got facilities there. The Navy has got several different bases there. They've got submarine bases, and they're working on technology for these bases, for these subs, modernized technology. Oh, speaking of submarines, which is really fun, a fun fact, Lake Arile in Idaho, that they've been building submarines there since right after World War II.
No.
In Idaho? Yeah.
No. Why would you build a submarine in Idaho?
What happened to all these submarines? They're 300 miles from the West Coast.
Yeah.
Think about it. It's interesting.
Underwater cave systems.
They're building submarines in a lake in Idaho. I mean, they said, well, a lot of them were only 3/4 size because they're just experimental. I mean, yeah, but what do you do with them? I know of at least 3 full size that someone said that they've built. What, since World War II, where are all these submarines going? How are they getting them out of there?
That's a good, yeah.
Yeah.
Huh, I never knew that.
Yeah.
I learn something new every day, Jacob. Look at that.
I mean, I've had some people that have told me some different theories, and then one that said that they're pretty sure that there's an underwater cave that they're coming out into the Pacific Ocean.
I mean,
because I know they're not going up through Canada.
No, they're not going. No, I don't think they're going to
No,
Canada.
there's not. I mapped that one time. In fact, I mapped water sightings, just the sightings that I had with longitude and latitude that were reported by merchant ships, by fishing trawlers, by our military. There was over 300 of them when I put it on this giant map that's 4 foot by 6 foot, and it's in Pine Bush, New York, at a UFO museum there. And it's got 300 dots that are just oceans and seas, just sightings. And I took them from these files that I obtained. Plus, then I've got Columbus. I was able to figure out from how long he was from shore and how many knots that he was sailing when he saw it. And so I've got the dot pretty much in the place where he was.
That's pretty. I'm not gonna lie. I'm impressed.
Yeah.
Well, there's so many sightings in the water, and if you go on a cruise ship, I don't know if you've ever been on a cruise, but you overlook the water and you can just see, just forever and ever and ever and ever. You have to be at the right place at the right time to see anything, and they come in and out of the water so quick, chances are you're not going to see anything. The best way to do it, the military, the ships are out there seeing everything, and there's a lot of that logged. Apparently, they're starting to release it all. And that's
what I find funny is the Navy's the one coming out and going, yeah, there's something out there. And the Air Force is sitting there going, do, 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 do. You know what I mean? Yeah. Being really, really quiet.
Well, but the Navy,
Wonder
because 70% of the earth is water. And
no, I agree with you. But my joke is like, Air Force,
right.
Talking, from Roswell and everything. Yeah.
The Air Force is in with NASA with the cover up.
Of course.
They're seeing things up there, but they're not going to say anything.
No.
The Space Force has been around. I found an owner's manual for the Space Force from, I think it was 1993. We've had Space Force for a long time. In it was talking about Dwight Eisenhower and Dwight Eisenhower in the early 50s when he said they formed NASA and they formed another branch that they were going to call the Space Force.
I vaguely remember hearing something about that. But what's funny, too, though, is that I talked to somebody recently who was trying to do like firefighter thing or something. I can't remember what it was. It was a conversation we had, and I brought up UFOs for whatever reason. I got on the topic of it. And he was like, yeah, we're trained up on how to handle, like, and I was like, what? He goes, yeah, there's a diagram for if we encounter one, what we do for medical stuff.
Where was this?
Yes.
This was here in Arkansas.
Yeah, it's in the firefighter manual.
See?
Yeah, it's in there.
Yeah.
And I keep trying. The captains are the ones that have these, that manual. And my daughter and son-in-law are both paramedic firefighters, and I've been trying to get a hold of a copy of that. They keep saying, "Well, we'll get that. We'll bring it home to you." They haven't yet. But
it's like under lock and key. Crazy, huh? Yeah.
Yeah. But there is a scenario in case of a UFO invasion of the firefighters' role in what they would do and where they would stage and absolutely there is protocol for that. And the firefighters' emergency manual. Yep. Absolutely.
So Jacob, all this stuff is kind of new to a point, but so like you and me, I'm like going, yeah. He's looking at me across like, are you serious? Like, dude,
yeah.
Dude, the conspiracies are everywhere.
The whole time over here.
The conspiracies are everywhere. Excuse me. I apologize for that one.
Especially with the manual.
Well, Miss Debbie, I can do this with you for hours. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I could visit with you forever. I mean, you have so much knowledge and, so many experiences. But real quick, can you tell everybody where they can find your book for me?
Oh, Amazon.
Okay. And then
it's the alien colonization of Earth's waterways. And then if you want to know a little bit more about what's going on, some of the Missouri sightings and how long they've been going on, Margie Kay, Missouri MUFON Assistant State Director, she lives in the Kansas City area. She and I co-wrote it. In the first half I wrote, in the second half she wrote. It was totally different things, but we made it big, tall-wise, I guess notebook paper size, because we printed the whole entire articles, and I've got a lot of articles from the 1970s, and so I thought it would be interesting to be able to read the actual article that made it in the newspaper about all the things that these people saw. I mean, especially there's a truck driver that was blinded in Cape Girardeau in 1973 by a UFO, and is, as far as we know, is the only person that ever collected workman's comp from a UFO entry.
Wow.
So, right. So, I mean, there's a lot of really interesting, and all the articles in there about how that happened to him and the whole investigation. So it's really interesting. But if you want to look on Amazon, all you have to do is just type in Debbie Ziegelmeyer and books.
And I'll have the correct spelling and everything for you.
Yeah.
I can promise you that
And
one will be in the description and all the good stuff, so that way you're covered.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just typed
Do you
it
have?
if I want.
Do you get? Okay, so if somebody's had an encounter up there in Missouri, how do they reach out to you guys?
Oh, okay. All they have to do is go to MUFON.com, Mutual UFO Network, but it's MUFON.com, and you go online. It says file a report. You file a report there, and the system will automatically send it to Missouri. It'll send it to me. And
Okay.
then there's 15 of us investigators, and the person that's the closest investigates it. And if we have to go on site, that there's a minimum of 2. Sometimes we've had as many as 5, 6 investigators on certain sites, depending on if it needs, how much investigate. If we need lab samples, and if there's a landing site or whatever, the more investigators, the better. Depending on how wide of an area it is too. But or they can contact me directly, and I can walk them through filling out a site, and that's MUFON, MUFON, diver, DIVER, @gmail.com.
Okay, I'll post that too in the description as well for you. Definitely.
I've been doing this for 25 years, so that's why when you said, I've never seen anything, well, when you're actively doing it for 25 years, I mean, that's just, I was watching, looking up at the sky as a kid. We used to lay on the roof of the garage. We'd climb up a wall and lay on the roof of the garage and watch the stars and watch the satellites and everything else. So I've been looking at the skies for a long time, but
Same.
it's easier to see something when you have someone call in and say, I've got these lights, and all the neighbors have seen these lights. And then you look, and the whole neighborhood is seeing something, and we interview people in 3-4 different houses in a row. Then you set up, and if you set up enough times, we'll set up a sky watch and maybe not see anything, and then we come back again in a few weeks, and sooner or later you catch it because the area is active, and that's why we enjoy people filing reports, because we can find out if there's how much activity there is in the area, and we can triangulate too and find out sometimes they're all of that once area is active, and that's where you concentrate. And then basically, but you thought, well, why do we do this? Well, MUFON's been around since 1969, and so our goal is to with the scientific study of UFOs for the benefit of humanity. That's, I guess, our goal, our mission. And we try and get the information out. Right now, I'm working also as an archivist, we're going to have about 250,000 files on Project Aquarius. And I'm one of the people that's redacting people's names, addresses, and phone numbers off of these files, so they can be available to the public. And you can go back, and some of these are from the 30s. So the information is going to be out there for everybody. It's a great research tool. And I said MUFON's been around since 1969, and we're in 43 countries.
Oh, wow.
So we're right. So we're trying. We get sighting reports from all these countries. There's a lot of sightings in Canada, and a whole great big group there. A lot of them in Mexico.
It's always in Mexico. Some of the good footage you see out there is always coming from Mexico.
Oh, I know.
It's always I always wonder, do they just walk around with their cameras pointing to the sky, or what are they doing? Because they're catching everything.
They do.
Daylight, nighttime, everything.
Well, they got a great sky. They probably don't have some of those areas. Well, most of the areas that have that don't have big buildings.
Yeah.
You could go out, and it's like how we grew up. In these little towns, and the sky was great. But anyway, if they need to contact me, you've got my email address, and I'm happy to, answer any other questions that anybody has.
Yep, and I'm going to post all of those into the show notes, into the description, and of course I'll be posting on Facebook. Do you guys have a Facebook page or anything?
No, I don't
Smart.
do Facebook.
Smart.
I tried that before, and it just didn't work out real well for me. So.
Understandable. All right, well, definitely. Well, I'll get everything posted in the show notes. So, But before I let you go, I got a few questions I just want to ask you. So,
Sure.
All right. Well, actually, I already have. I mean, she's already answered everything I was pretty much was going to ask her. Like, what she thinks, what was going to. I mean, you have, Miss Debbie. You've answered them all. Miss Debbie's done a great job. I mean, you covered. You jumped into the Nordics and the reptilians. I was like, thank you. All right, I know how to answer that. I have to ask that at all. So, but I do tell you, I do appreciate you coming on board. And I tell you what, though, yeah, you get an opportunity to come down here to go looking for UFOs, or if I head to Missouri, I'm going to reach out. Take me out. I want to go. I want to go see one.
So you're in.
I'm in Little Rock,
right?
Yeah, I'm in Little Rock.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. You're in
I
Little
live
Rock.
here. Yeah. So, but yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
here in Missouri, and from Cape Girardeau. I mean, we had the 1941 famous site. It was 1941. That was before the 1947 Roswell. There was a crash in Cape Girardeau. So I'm just I'm like 100 miles, well, about 90 miles north of that. But yeah, there was the very first. I don't know if you knew that the very first crash that before the most publicized was 1941, Cape Girardeau, Missouri. It was April.
What about that one in Texas in the 1800s?
Oh,
where they buried?
Yeah,
remember?
Right, that hit the
hit the guy's house.
Ended up,
like the judge's house, or
hit a windmill. Yeah, it hit a windmill, and then they took the pieces and they threw them in the well, and then they were poisoned the water.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's really interesting. Yeah, the one we had in Cape Girardeau was April of 1941, and there was a craft that hit a hillside. There were 3 aliens on board, 2 dead, 1 alive. They shot the one that was alive, and then felt bad. They called the Reverend Huffman from the Red Star Church that was in Cape Girardeau, and he came over and gave it last rites. There was a grave site for the aliens for quite a while, and people kept stealing the stone. And they've had TV specials on it where they've gone in there with ground penetrating equipment trying to find the alien bodies. The craft, I think the craft got taken away. First it was buried, and then it was taken away, and the fire department was involved. It was quite a sighting, but 1941. This was hush, 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 because you're in the middle there of, 1941. It was a pre-World War II because it was April of 41, and of course, December 7th of 1941 was when Pearl Harbor was bombed. So we
were still being secretive, and we were still
exactly. Yeah, so all that was covered up fairly well, but yeah, there was a sighting in Cape Girardeau, Missouri. So that's how long this has been going back.
That is
a long
awesome.
time. Okay, I'm babbling on here.
No, you're great. You're great. Like you said, I could do this all night long. Well, thank you again, Miss Debbie.
I got to go out and watch the sky.
I know. I got to do the same thing here in a minute.
Meteor shower if it quits raining.
Oh, yeah. No, that's right. There is supposed to be a meteor shower. That's not going to happen here.
Tonight, tomorrow. Yeah. No, we're not going to unless it hits our house, we're not going to see anything.
Exactly. Well, thank you again. Thank you again, Miss Debbie. I appreciate it. I will be emailing you stuff and everything, and thank you for coming on the show. I mean, this meant a lot to me. I definitely greatly appreciate it.
Oh, gee. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. Listening to me babble on a little bit here.
No,
but
I like babblers.
I'm honored. Thank you.
No, I like babblers. I babble all the time. Jacob will tell you that.
He does.
So,
I get talking about this. I get enthusiastic. It's a lot of fun.
That's how I am with Bigfoot.
Yeah, he is.
Hold on, that's how I am with a lot of the cryptids. Bigfoot, ghosts. I'll start babbling if I start doing that.
But at the same time, I did like this.
It's fun.
Mind-blowing, honestly. I'm over here like dazed and confused.
You did good. Well, you dazed and confused, Jacob, so you did good there, Miss Debbie. So, again, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming on board. And, ladies and gentlemen, that was another wonderful episode of the Drunken Cryptids. Remember, if you've had an encounter, please email me, drunkencryptids@gmail.com. Like and share us. Give us that 5-star review. The more comments you guys give us, the better the algorithm, the show goes out there. We are on Patreon as well, so whatever tier, if you want to help support the show, whatever tier works for you, hey, I appreciate all the help we can get with that one. You get bonus content, you get access to get on some of the investigations with us, you get a whole bunch of really neat little things going on. And, of course, you get special notifications of any projects or anything goes before the public gets it, so you get all that stuff. But, other than that, y'all stay safe, and we'll catch you next time.
King of the world. everything that I want. Hey, 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 if it is to be, you know when it's up to me, I'm headed to the front. 'Cause I'm the king of the world. You can't deny it. Gonna carry it all into my world. I'm the king of the world. Don't care about it. Gonna carry it all into my world. I'm the king of the world. I'm the king of the world.